The St. Louis Blues have made multiple shocking moves this morning as we get a major update from practice involving a few players in particular, and one player gets rewarded for his stellar start to the season. We're going to break down what all of this means for the Blues moving forward as they have a tough matchup and test in their next game. We're going to break it all down, but before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button, as 67% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with your St. Louis Blues, go down below, hit that free subscribe button, because Mark and I are going to keep you updated daily with everything that's happening with your Blues. This is the place to be for all your daily St. Louis Blues content. But let's jump right into it. Jim Montgomery is spicing things up, and I like it. Let's get right into it. Things are changing at practice. We have a bunch of new lines, new pairings, and Mailloux. We're going to touch on him. Mailloux is now considered a scratch. He is the 7th defenseman. We were talking about this yesterday, about possibly having Matthew Kessel back in the mix. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there it is. But let's touch on the first line first. You have Holloway, Thomas, and Neighbours. Neighbours getting rewarded for his great play as of late. He was already kind of playing on the first line, but now Holloway, he looked okay and scored a goal against the Chicago Blackhawks. He is now on the first line with Thomas to try and get those guys all going. They have clearly been the best players on this team to start. Snuggerud is now on the second line with Suter. They're keeping that pairing together with Buchnevich. So I think that's interesting. You get some size with some of the other guys and the speed. Third line is Joseph, Schenn, and Kyrou. This, make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen, we were talking about Snuggerud and people were saying, why was he demoted to the third line? That was not a demotion. They found a pairing that works. This, and I hate to dump on Jordan Kyrou, is a demotion. He has not been good enough to start the season. They need this guy to get going. And I think this is a message that, he has been playing with Schenn, but they're both moving down to the third line now with Joseph. And Joseph's looked okay at times so far this season. So that's interesting. Then you have a fourth line. That's not much different than what we, come to expect at this point. But Texier is in there, Bukestad down the middle, and you have Walker on the right. So that's pretty interesting. And then again, if you look at the defense pairings, they're all the same except for the last one, which is just Mailloux is out of the lineup now. He's on the outside looking in, and Matthew Kessel is in as the 6th defenseman. So Logan Mailloux as the 7th defenseman. Let me know what you think in the comments, because some interesting things going down at practice today. Do you like these new line combinations from Jim Montgomery? I like it. You're rewarding players who are playing very well. You're sending guys who have not started the season strong a message by sending them down a line. And Logan Mailloux, he hasn't been good enough this year. It's been a problem. I think he's going to be fine. And the trade, in hindsight, it's going to look fine. It's going to look fine. He's going to be a great defenseman and player for this team. But has not been good to start the season. We'll see what happens with Logan Mailloux and if he ends up, finding his way back into the line. I think it's more about, and we talked about this in a video yesterday, Mark and I, it's more about getting Kessel in there, who has some experience in this system with this team, back in there, get some stability, see if it's Tyler Tucker that's also struggling, and take it from there. So that's exactly what they're doing. And if you look at, the impact score chart, we can touch on Mailloux as well. He hasn't been good the last couple of games. He was the worst player in terms of advanced analytics last game as well. So far this season, every Blue has recorded a point except for Torpchenko and obviously Mailloux. And Torpchenko has played one game and he's now injured. Obviously, he's not skating. I should have mentioned that as well. If you look at the lines, Sundqvist and Torpchenko not skating, both of them with lower body injuries, and Torpchenko also has an upper body injury he's dealing with. But Mailloux has played in every single game, so he struggled. He has struggled out of the gate. I think ultimately he's going to be fine, but they're seeing that this has to change, and it's probably a weak spot. And when you look at the schedule coming up, you just came off of an 8-3 smacking by the Chicago Blackhawks, just an absolutely devastating result. You play one of the best teams in the league now in Dallas on Saturday. You got to be ready for that game. The Kings have been doing all right. Then you have the Mammoth, who are expected to be good this year. Like, the schedule is not necessarily getting that much easier. It's not like you're going to play a bunch of, bottom feeding teams. Really, at this point of the season, you don't even know who's going to be at the bottom, but it's not like, it gets much easier. You have to pick up some wins here. You have to look like you're playing well and with some stability. And I wanted to touch on a quote from Jim Montgomery, and he said, and this is, talking about especially the last game, but the last couple of games, he said, "We didn't execute well. That's just our mental sharpness was not great. This game got away from us because of our own habits and actions. And I think most of the fan base is feeling that way too, where if you look at that game against Chicago, heading into it, you're expected to win that game. I think you are. I don't think Chicago is that good. I think they've taken steps this year. I'll give them credit where credit's due, I guess. But, they have no reason coming into St. Louis to beat the Blues, right? So I think Montgomery's saying that game is due to the lack of mental sharpness. I mean, look at the Hofer giveaway, right? Like, you can talk about that specifically. That was awful. That was horrendous. And then, the rest of the game, they just didn't look as hungry. There's certain guys that do look good. Jake Neighbours, again, has started the season on absolute fire. Let's get into that, right? If you look at his stats so far this season, he's played 4 games, is 5 points, and 4 of them are goals. He started on fire, and they're still managing his ice time. So now he's going to get that promotion. He's going to be playing on the top line. I wonder if they mess around with him in special teams as well. That'll be interesting to see, and still such a young player. So encouraging to see him to start the season this high, right? And that he's getting, he's picking up points, and he's getting the ice time and the recognition. Now he's on the top line. He's going to, spend some time with Thomas, and obviously now they have Holloway up there on the top line with them. So that'll be exciting. But man, schedule doesn't get much easier, and you got to start picking up some wins here and at least look like you're in some of these games, because yes, the one against Calgary looked good. Like, so far they've had moments where you're like, okay, this is good, and Hofer looked brilliant in that one game. But you got to start stringing together these performances, build up that consistency, build up these good habits. And that's exactly what Jim Montgomery has been talking about and what he said in that quote as well. And you can see from Jeremy Rutherford, first it's the Blues defense, and now it's the goaltending, right? So you have to start giving up that many goals. They kind of go hand in hand. The defense hasn't been that good, certain pairings, and again, they were experimenting with Mailloux and Broberg, and for a game that looked good, but clearly that was not the fix. So they got to figure it out. We'll see what happens with Matthew Kessel now seemingly in the lineup on Saturday. That'll be interesting to keep an eye on. One thing I wanted to mention, though, and credit where credit is due, Logan Mailloux, last skater out, putting in work today after practice. So credit to Logan Mailloux. I think he's going to be just fine. But, you also have to give credit to the coach to say, I identify an issue. We're seeing an issue here with the lineup right now. He's got to get scratched for a game. We have to send a message to him. We have to see how Matthew Kessel can come in. Is it an upgrade? Are we going to play with more stability? Because he's a guy that kind of, what to expect. He's been here before. We'll see what happens with that over the course of this weekend, I guess, in the next couple of games, if they decide to go back to Mailloux. But he's staying out, he's putting in work, and the skill is there. It's absolutely there. And he's had a very small sample size in the NHL to start his career. So we'll see how he bounces back from this. We'll see when they give him the opportunity again. And we will see this weekend what Matthew Kessel is able to do with Tyler Tucker. And last thing I wanted to bring up before we wrap up here is all the lines. This is from Money Puck. So far this season, they've experimented with a lot of things, but no line in particular has really, come to the forefront and shown that they have been dominant. You can't break them up. And that's why Jim Montgomery is doing some of these moves to, get guys going, shake things up. He likes, a couple pairs. We know that. We've seen that, right? We know Snuggerud and Suter right now, they're working together, keep them together. We know that Schenn and Kyrou usually come as a package, whether it's on the second line or the third line. But, outside of that, really playing with a lot of things right now. So we will see what happens. And it sounds like Jordan Binnington getting the start on Saturday against the Dallas Stars. So let me know in the comments how you feel about everything going on here. And the last thing before we wrap up is, of course, comments of the day. And this one today comes from Matthew. And he said, "Thank you, gents, for your awesome insights, stats, breakdowns, and takeaways. This team needs all the defensive help they can get. It is panic time because the Central is one of the toughest divisions. Getting rid of Bolduc is a massive disaster. Mailloux isn't all to blame, but collectively, our defense is a disaster. Trade, and call up these young guns." And I'm not ready to hit the panic button just yet. I think they will be okay and they will figure it out. But I think if we get to like game 15 and this is still an issue, Doug Armstrong's going to have to do something. So let me know how you feel in the comments about that as well. I'm not ready to judge the trade just yet. I think Mailloux is going to be a really, really good player, but he's just getting his feet wet still at the NHL level and in a new system with a new team, with a new coach. So give him some time, but it was a problem that the Blues had to at least address for the time being. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens this weekend. Let me know how you feel in the comments. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything going on with your St. Louis Blues.